everyone, I'm Jacquee. You can call me Squeezy. That's my Twitter handle, so feel free to tweet at me. This is my second presentation about gamification here in Ruby. The first one was back in February, and actually since then, I took a couple classes. The left side's Udemy, and then the right side is on Coursera. So I did finish my Coursera class, and I did get a certificate. So yay! Thank you. So today I'm going to talk about, really quickly, I'm going to talk about the definition of what gamification is, what it isn't, which is what I talked about last time. And then today, mostly I'm going to talk about Amy Jo Kim. She has 5 steps that she uses. She's the CEO of ShuffleBrain, and she helps clients gamify their social systems too. And I'm going to go walk through all her 5 steps with you. Okay, so what is gamification? So gamification, it's still a new concept, relatively new concept, and it's this definition by Kevin Warbach. He's the professor that taught the Coursera course. This is not a universal definition. So
it should be.
It's pretty good, I think. So it's the use of game elements and game design techniques in non-game contexts. So game elements, progress bars, stats, badges, levels, leaderboards. Game design techniques, we're actually going to talk about a little bit about this in the 5 steps that I'm talking about later. And then in non-game context, so you're using it in the real world, you're not making a game. So what's not gamification? It's not turning everything into a game. It's not a simulation, although simulations do feel like the real world. That's not how you gamify something. You're not using games in a business context necessarily. Like I gave the example of Monopoly, the little Monopoly things that are on the McDonald's. Whenever you buy McDonald's, that's not really gamification. Loyalty programs, you see buy 10, get 1 free. And it's not about just slapping badges, leaderboards, and points on everything. It's about creating an experience for your players. Okay, so now that I talked about what it is and what it isn't, let's go into Amy Jo's 5 steps. So the first step is to know your users. And users, try to use, like I keep saying users, but it's players. You want to know your players. So in this, she has 4 major players. If they're more interested going this way, more interested in people or more players, in content, in acting, or in interacting. So we're going to start with the top right quadrant. So it's interested in more players, but in acting. So the best way to, I guess, remember this, and she calls this the competitive players. So they want to win, beat, brag, taunt, or challenge other players. And the best way I remembered this is Raphael from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? Okay. No, is that just me? Okay. The bottom right quadrant, so it's cooperative and interacting with other players. If anybody wants to take a guess. So they join, share, help, gift, greet, or exchange and trade. Leonardo. The next quadrant, exploration. They like to view, read, search, collect, compete, and curate. I mean, if you don't get this, I don't. Donatello. And then the last one is expressive, and I don't think I need to describe that at all anymore, right? Okay. So you're always going to have 4 major players. There are going to be people in between or right on the line. Not everything's going to be cut and dry, but keep this in mind that you're going to have 4 major types of players. Okay, so each player, they're going to go through a different life cycle. And okay, so our life cycle, there's 3 major stages of the life cycle. So it's a newbie when you're onboarding, and back to our Ninja Turtle thing. April O'Neil is kind of like the newest member of the team, right? So she needs to learn the ropes. You need to welcome her and set achievable goals for her to get. So if she wanted to start learning martial arts, that's how she would start. And then the next level is the regulars. So that's where they build habits. They already know how to play, so they need fresh content or challenges to keep them going along. And then the last one is the enthusiasts, and these are really the masters. So Master Splinter. And for these players, you can offer exclusivity or recognition or some kind of impact for them. And then, so now we're going to go on to the next step, which actually builds on the life cycle. And these are, she says to put PERMA in your engagement loops, and I'm going to explain what PERMA is. It's actually from positive psychology. So people that self-report being happy have these 5 traits in common. So the first is positive emotions, joy, happiness, fun, safety. E is for engagement or flow, and I'm actually going to talk about this a little later, but it's when you're in the zone. R is relationships, so you want to have enjoyable and supportive relationships. M is meaning. That's a tree. Sorry, I didn't know how to how to draw that. You have to be purposeful and thoughtful when you're building anything. And then A is for accomplishment. So it's you're completing goals and not just like finishing tasks, but something that is of value to you, and you'll actually feel like you've accomplished something. And so you want to put all of these 5 into engagement loops, and engagement loops, so here's April again. We want to onboard her into the process. So there's usually something, a call to action that's going to make her start, right? Sorry, this is a non-TMNT example, but
You'll be friends.
Oh my god, Plants vs. Zombies. So if you ever play the first level of Plants vs. Zombies, it's a perfect example of engagement loop. So the call to action is that there's zombies coming to attack, so we gotta shoot at them, right? So now it's the player engagement. So this is where you're gonna give them the task of, and explain to them how they're gonna defeat the zombie. And I think it's the pea shooter is the first little character you play. So you tap and it shoots at the zombie. And then you want to have like visible progress. So when you're attacking the zombie, you can actually see him kind of like getting all messed up, and then he dies. And then the last part, and hopefully you feel happy at the end that you killed the zombie. So you want to build these, and then it kind of, sorry if you can see. So it's either a newbie will start down here, or if you're a returning player, like if you play to the second level, you're going to just keep going in a loop. So you're either going to engage the player or re-engage the player, depending on what stage they're at. So when you go back to the life cycle, every stage of the life cycle is going to be a different engagement loop. So again, it's going to be different for someone who's just starting versus someone who's been doing it a while and someone who's just been doing it forever, right? Okay. And then something else that also builds on this is the next, her 4th step, which is progress mechanics. So there's 3 elements of progress mechanics, which all of this equals the player's journey, which is kind of similar to the whole life cycle. And the first is dynamics. So dynamics are the patterns over time. This is either going to build a habit or an addiction, kind of like slot machines. They have certain patterns built into slot machines that make people addicted. So you have to be purposeful and thoughtful. I'm going to say this a million times when you're designing those. And with dynamics, there are things like progressive unlock, so you unlock the next level once you pass a level type of thing, and reward schedules. There's a lot about this, and I know I'm running through it, so I can't talk too much about it. So the next one is mechanics. So mechanics, again, what we all think about gamification, the points, badges, leaderboards, etc. And the third part is aesthetics. This is what's going to evoke emotion, so it's not just like, yes, it should look nice, but also how your friends are portrayed kind of in the game. And again, she's a social designer, Amy Jo Kim, so a lot of it is very social based. And all of this put together in the players, put this all together in the player's journey to get sustained engagement. And there's a thing called flow, and you may have heard of this, or we'll hear about it some more. So as you build your skills, if you build skills but the challenges don't get harder, you're going to be bored. If you don't build your skills but becomes increasingly challenging, you're going to be anxious because you're not going to get anywhere. You want to be here in the zone, in flow, and that's where you want to build your game at, so your players can build some skills and have increasing challenges. Does that make sense? I know. Okay. So the final step is using intrinsic value to drive motivation. So if you've heard of Dan Pink, he wrote a book called Drive, and it has 3 major things that are a part of it. Autonomy at the top left, so it's the desire to direct our own lives. Mastery is the urge to get better at something that is of value to us. And purpose is if we feel like we're part of something bigger than ourselves. So, excuse me. So intrinsic value, this is something that you value or is meaningful to you that you probably have a passion for and that you would probably do even if you didn't get paid for it. And this always trumps extrinsic motivation. So either rewards, money, badges, points, letters, rewards, or consequences if there were consequences. But the best place for the extrinsic rewards are always to show progress or to show how you're great at completing a task, right? Okay. And so to recap, I know I ran through this really quickly, but know your players, design for the 3 major stages of the life cycle, design the engagement loops and add PERMA, positive psychology, into those engagement loops. 4 is to include progress mechanics, and 5 is to always use intrinsic value over extrinsic rewards. And that's it.
So basically, in short, if you thought you were doing gamification, you're wrong, is the takeaway? Basically, right?
Yes. Yeah, so it's about creating an experience. So it's not, don't slap points on there and just assume people it's going to be more fun. It probably won't be for them, or they'll figure it out and they would know they have no purpose.
Isn't it that you're doing it, but you're not doing it well?
Possibly.
Well, you're trying.
You're trying, yes. Yes.
Isn't the other takeaway that Michael Bay ruined the turtles?
No comments. I actually do have a little gift for someone if anyone is willing to tell me something that they learned today, although I spoke really fast.
Is that gamification? Is that gamification?
Are you gamifying your presentation?
No, I just felt nice. I felt artsy, so if anybody wants to.
The Monopoly game is not gamification?
Wait, the Monopoly game in what context?
What do you mean, like with McDonald's?
Okay. Yay! So I made a little rupee. Enjoy. Does anybody else have any other questions? No? Cool. Thanks.